The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, the chairman of Beaches and Parks speaking out after members of the media put tough questions regarding excess spending. Also tonight, the matter of fraud and the May 12th general election won't go away. The Free National Movement is questioning the integrity of the process. Meanwhile, the government vowing to prosecute any civil servant found committing fraud as it relates to the May 12th ballots. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, a growing controversy unfolding tonight over his public funds and how they are being managed within the Beaches and Parks Authority. Questions are now being raised about overruns and spending and practices under the leadership of Chairman Bonaby. Well, tonight I sit with Chairman Bonaby to address the concerns about overspending and accountability and whether taxpayers are getting value for their money. Good evening to you, Chairman Bonaby. It's good to have you here. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you here.
Good evening. I'm glad to be here.
A number of people are anxious about I guess what you have to say about what's been making headlines, I think now for a couple of weeks and including just yesterday and today in some areas. And so let's just kind of jump right in into it. And so, thanks again for being here, but let's just go into this. How did your department end up exceeding its budget by $141 million? And what specifically would you say led to that and went wrong?
Well, I'm glad you started with that particular point, Shanique. The headline, and I don't want to say whether it's intentional or not, or whether it's just the way that it's printed, but the fact of the matter is that the authority was not over $141 million in excess of its budget. I think what the article spoke to was the fact that that was, in their opinion, the aggregate sum over a 5-year period.
Right.
Not an annual 141 cost overrun. And so based on their own numbers, you would be looking at approximately $26 to $30 million annually at Parks and Beaches, not $141 million in 1 year. That's preposterous.
So it's a cumulative amount.
It is.
That they're referring to, which equals $141 million over this term.
Based on their estimates.
Based on their estimates. You disagree with those estimates?
The fact of the matter is, in looking at what they would have tabled or what they would have published, I need to go through what they would have submitted. I disagree somewhat with some of the figures that was placed there. I believe when they would have looked at what was spent under the previous administration, I believe they were shortchanged in that particular department as well. But I actually want to speak to Shanique, the fact that the debts that were left behind by the previous administration, which compounded exactly, that placed us in a position where we are today.
So the debt left behind that you have obviously had to pay as chairman of the authority, are you saying that's included in whatever cost overruns happened annually?
Well, it's something called unfunded budget items. And when we came to office, there was millions of dollars in unfunded liabilities left behind for the new board to address. And that's something that we have to take into consideration. But it's not something that is usually discussed. What is discussed is the amount. I think a more fulsome conversation needs to be had in terms of what is the right size budget for Parks and Beaches.
What is the right size budget, do you feel?
Well, I think, let's talk about the role that Parks and Beaches play.
Let's talk about the role. Let's talk about exactly what your role is in terms of all the parks around around the nation, I imagine.
I think so.
And the road size, this, that, the beaches, all this.
I think by you pointing out the fact that we're not just Parks and Beaches for New Providence, we're parks and beaches for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And we've taken that approach. We've been doing some excellent work in the family of islands as well. We've started doing some new things. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at the budget, it takes into consideration maintaining, whether that's through the lawn maintenance or park maintenance or all of the bathroom maintenance on our public parks, which amounts to over 250 public parks that we manage.
250?
250 public parks alone in New Providence. And that does not speak to the bathrooms that are on the parks that we also are responsible for maintaining. That does not speak to the road verges. That does not speak to the beaches. That does not speak to salaries. That does not speak to the improvement of a new fleet. That does not speak to the new headquarters, the rent that has to be paid as well. Well, that probably be addressed through public service. But all of these things that fall under the remit of parks and beaches that go unnoticed.
Well, let's talk about some of those areas you mentioned, the bathrooms, the park facilities in terms of the equipment that's on the park. Some of those parks leave a lot to be desired in terms of the equipment on the park, on those parks. What is the maintenance schedule for them, and maybe even replacement?
Very, very good question. One of the things that we attempted to do to drive down the cost is to create a park management department. We've done several other new apartments, customer service department. We've also beefed up our accounts department. We've increased the amount of inspectors that we have. We've also hired new lifeguards as well. And so that is one of the things that we looked at as well to drive down the cost. Now, the fact of the matter is there is a lot to be desired, but it's not something that happened overnight. Some of the parks have not been well maintained for the last 10 to 20 years. Some of the parks we were able to maintain right away. Some of the parks it's actually a work in progress. And so we want to address it as soon as possible, but the capital expense alone, if we were to tackle all of that cost, the cost would be even more than what you're seeing today. And this is why I'm saying to you, Shanique, the fact of the matter is parks and beaches is huge. It's underestimated, but it's huge. Let's talk about our 1,200 contractors that we have alone, or approximately 1,200 small contractors, small business owners, people who may not have a degree, people who are still Bahamians, people who need to look after their families, people who are looking for an opportunity. As a state-owned entity, that is also a role that we play as well. So,
and trying to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to be able to provide. So in all fairness to you, let me ask you this, because this is nothing new. Parks and beaches come up wanting, I guess, every election season, certainly the last one under the last administration. Is parks and beaches sort of, and its spending and how it's allocated, and the fact that, like you say, people. I went on your page doing research for this evening's interview. I saw someone, a young man, thanking you that he and all of his friends are working and have jobs for the first time, I guess, for years. They are very happy about this. Is it an election slush fund?
Definitely not. If you look at the work that Parks and Beaches has been doing since 2021 to now, you see that we've been pretty consistent about how Parks and Beaches is supposed to be used. So for instance, under the previous administration, there was allegations of road being done on certain roads where there were a certain amount of persons being paid for work not being done. That were certain allegations that were being done. That has not been levied under this administration. This administration takes accountability seriously. And hence the reason why, and I think I've shared this on your show before, why we instituted the first set of audits for Parks and Beaches ever in its history.
So Parks and Beaches, under your chairmanship, has been audited and is audited?
It has been audited, and we are on the final leg of completing all of the things that needs to be done to package that up to release to the public. And so I can safely say, for the 10 years that we've been in operation, I say that continuously, Parks and Beaches, it was never, ever audited. And so when we talk about the amount that is being spent at Parks and Beaches, there's a negative connotation there. The connotation there is that there's no accountability, there's no transparency, and there's no value for money. But what you have to also consider is Parks and Beaches is growing as well as an entity. I'm the third chairman. The first chairman was Greg Burrows. He had about a year and a half or so on the job. The second was the other chairman, and now myself. And so it is a very young and fledgling institution. And so in terms of looking at how we make sure that the public is now viewing Parks and Beaches in the right light. Parks and Beaches is tantamount to the cleaning agent of the entire country. And so if we receive a budget, let's say, of about 24 million, let's say we have unfunded liabilities that is walking in the door every single day.
Like what, for example?
So for instance, there are contractors that walk in from 2017, 2018, 2019, saying, I have not been paid for work. When we came in, there were contractors that were owed $300,000. I believe that there was a contractor that was owed $300,000 for garbage bin production alone. There was also contractors that were owed for lighting of parks to the tune of the six-figure contracts. And so, but we're not making excuses. If we were about excuses, we would not do the things that we're doing, for example, the audits.
Now let's talk about, for example, the very visible. Mm-hmm. One complaint that came to me from media colleagues is like, listen, okay, well, you know what, if you have the overruns, that's okay, mm-hmm. as long as you can touch, feel, see with the mm-hmm. overruns. The very visible Goodman's Bay Park and Beach, and the equipment there, I understand, is falling apart. Mm-hmm. What is the schedule to either repair or replace something like that is so visible? Is there Bahamians, tourists, children, all of them use it?
Well, I'm glad you point out that particular park. We've maintained that park more consistently than any other park. It is just the excess use. But not only Goodman's Bay deserve our attention. Parks in Carmichael deserve our attention. Parks in Pinewood deserves our attention. But what I'm saying to you, Shanique, is this. It is such a broad task, a humongous task with all of the assets that we own. A serious conversation needs to be had where Bahamians need not to balk at what is being submitted for Parks and Beaches to run its operations over the next year. And I would advocate for more for the next, whoever becomes the new chairman.
Well, let's talk about what you've done as chairman, mm-hmm. the new projects that
right.
you've brought on stream, and have they been completed? Because people want to be able to say, you know what, he may have spent 10 million more, or every mm-hmm. year it's been more than what the last chairman did, mm-hmm. but here's what he did. What are some of the projects that you've been able to achieve and have under your belt as Mikel Bonaby, chairman of the Parks and Beaches Authority, has done this?
Well, as I said, Shanique, we started off in 2021 in a dilapidated building where the staff had to go home at least 3 days out of the week. We didn't have a full complement of staff. We moved into new headquarters. And I said this in the House of Assembly. We had rundown park cleaning equipment. We had no ride-on lawn mowers. We had no lawn mowers, very little weed whackers. We didn't have a fleet of vehicles. We had two vehicles for about 4 inspectors to carry out inspections on the entire island. Now, Parks and Beaches can boast of a whole host of vehicles, a fleet of vehicles that it now has under its remit.
Are there financial controls in place in terms of, listen, you mentioned sort of, I guess, building out parks and beaches so that it meets growing demand and be able to do more, get more done. But are there financial controls and oversight, and how does that work?
Well, obviously, the starting point is once the budget is prepared, there's a conversation about what the allocation is going to be. Every ministry, every minister, every chairman would love to have more funding, but you work with what you receive, and because of the special, the importance of Parks and Beaches in terms of what we do on the island, in terms of preparing for special events, unexpected events as well, in terms of hurricanes preparation, cleaning up after Junkanoo. All of these things have to be taken into consideration when you look at what we do. We are also responsible for every single billboard that gets erected or is removed when those individuals do not put the billboards, take the billboards down.
Now, in terms of impact and justification, certainly, as you say, the audit is being compiled and so for you to be able to present to the public. But in terms of justification, talk about the tangibles. How have people, because that's the real important thing, the Bahamian people, who the taxpayer, who is to say, listen, I've benefited. There's a return on investment here. My family, this, or that kind of thing.
Over the course of 5 years, there are thousands and thousands of Bahamians who have been positively impacted by parks and beaches. Thousands and thousands. From small contractors to medium-sized contractors. People who are unemployed, unemployable, are able to come to parks and beaches and able to apply for a contract and get their lives back on track. And it's been something that multiple administrations have used to stimulate the economy, to keep money at home in Bahamians' pockets.
Do you feel as though it was a fair assessment of that the former chairman, how he may have handled parks and beaches? Is there a better maybe understanding of what he had to face?
Well, no, because there's a completely different way that we would have operated. First and foremost, we have audits, and that was very difficult to do. There was no banking. We had to go all the way back to the first check. So first we had to organize all of the banking information. That was one group of accountants. That took almost a year and a half. And then there's also, and that team of accountants could not be engaged to do the audits because you cannot audit your own work. So a second team of accountants had to come in. So there's a stark difference in the way that we govern. Now, the question on the political side, is it enough? Is it too little? Did we overspend? That's a political question, and that's at the discretion of the government in terms of how the government allocates funding. But the fact of the matter is there's been no allegations of 8 people cleaning one road. There's been no allegations that our contracts are not binding. There's been no allegations that contracts have been in excess of what they ought to be. And if we had something to hide, we would not conduct all of the audits. And I think I have to keep harping that home because the audits will spell and provide the fulsome story. Now, as you may know, Shanique, it is impossible to actually conduct the first set of audits until you clear up all of the confusion that was in the accounts department. And so we are different. Now, what makes us the same is that we're all serving Bahamians.
Well, that's very important and that's key. So why were you running from the media? The media said that you were running from them and you didn't want to. You just got to say all this.
No, well, the fact of the matter is, no, I couldn't say all of this in that environment. That's a celebratory environment. That's an environment where I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of supporters coming out to a nomination. I wanted to sit with you and others in the media for a more fulsome conversation. I believe that this conversation was actually too brief. I believe that we need more time so that we can not defend, but explain. And that's what I'm here to do.
Well, I'm inviting you back. My team has told me, you saw right before we came on air, that Shanique, we have huge commercial blocks, so you got to get in and get out. So come back.
Will do.
Come
we
back.
want to invite you to Parks and Beaches with other media individuals, hopefully in the future, that you can walk in so you can touch, feel, and experience the changes at Parks and Beaches.
Bonaby, Chairman of the Beaches and Parks Authority, speaking this evening on the cost overruns, and he says that an audit is underway and being compiled so that the Bahamian people would be.
It's completed.
It's being pardon me. An audit is completed and being compiled. All and compiled
for
to be presented, yes, for the last 10 years, in fact, to cover the entire history of parks and beaches, and then obviously will be presented. Thank you for being here this evening. I couldn't give you any more time than I did, but
I wish we had more time.
I thank you very much. We have, it's election time,
yes.
Big blocks. So thank you, but come back, certainly come back.
Do.
We'll get into more of it. Thank you so much again, Bonaby, Chairman of the Beaches and Parks Authority. Beyond the Headlines is back right after this. Stay close.
brand into focus and make your impact on the nation. Go all in with the Impact Bundle, featuring live liners and an in-studio interview. Prefer targeted reach? Audio plus digital delivers radio and digital placements. Or be seen with our television bundle with 20 TV ads across broadcast and streaming. Call 4-666-173, Eye on the Nation. Bring your brand into focus and make your impact on the nation. Go all in with the Impact Bundle, featuring live liners and an in-studio interview. Prefer targeted reach? Audio plus digital delivers radio and digital placements. Or be seen with our television bundle with 20 TV ads across broadcast and streaming. Call 4-666-173, Eye on the Nation. Bring your brand into focus and make your impact on the nation. Go all in with the Impact Bundle, featuring live liners and an in-studio interview. Prefer targeted reach? Audio plus digital delivers radio and digital placements. Or be seen with our television bundle with 20 TV ads across broadcast and streaming. Call 4-666-173, Eye on the Nation.
There are a lot of new opportunities in our country. We are building an economy that includes everyone. And you chose to come to BTVI.
The best place to learn.
Expanding and updating BTVI.
It prepared me for the future to be an entrepreneur.
And this is what this is all about. We are creating more opportunities for more Bahamians because opportunity is the key to success.
And fly fishing is very important. Not only does it create opportunities for Bahamians, this is our industry, so we're proud of what we do. Opportunity is important. It's the story of my life because with the opportunities, you can chart your own course. Prime Minister Davis and his team see the opportunities by providing these grants and what it can do for our country. It's just wonderful, and I'm glad to see these ventures working so that other people can get involved. This is real. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's help ourselves.
Hey, it's time to lock in your vote.
Your vote is your power.
With the new boundaries in place, you may need to transfer or confirm your voter registration.
And if you have never registered or didn't plan to vote,
don't get left out on one of the most important decisions of your future.
Make sure when election day comes, you're ready to say,
your say, your vote, your choice.
There are a lot of new opportunities in our country. We are building an economy that includes everyone. And you chose to come to BTVI.
The best place to learn.
Expanding and updating BTVI.
It prepared me for the future to be an entrepreneur.
And this is what this is all about. We are creating more opportunities for more Bahamians because opportunity is the key to success.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, Eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods. Taste the difference.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
Today.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you all tuned in. A lot of you very interested in that first segment and what the chairman of the Beaches and Parks Authority, Bonaby, had to say in terms of that cost overruns. If you heard a lot of what he had to say, it's a cumulative amount that he says is out there, but that may not necessarily be the figure because an audit has been completed and the audit is being compiled, or the reports of that audit is being compiled to be presented to the public. I'm going to bring in now the Hot Topics panelists to get their thoughts on it, to get their thoughts on Beaches and Park. Beaches and Park is one of those areas that come up. Well, it's the second time because it's a relatively new authority. Now, I guess, roughly 10 years old. Gentlemen, good evening to each of you. Cassius, Ellington, Michael, good evening to each of you. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. It's great to have you all here. You heard Chairman Bonaby talk about Beaches and Park, talk about the headlines that's been out there, the stories that have been out there sort of making the rounds, and explaining about exactly what Beaches and Parks is, how he has built it out further, what he has done, and also about this audit that will be made public shortly. Your thoughts about, and I did ask him, listen, we know what has been said even previously. Is this a convenient sort of election slush fund? And he, of course, denied that it was. But your thoughts on number one, what's been reported, and then how he responded this evening.
Hello, everybody. I haven't seen you all in a long time. Michael, Ellington, Shanique.
Good evening.
Hello, Bahamas. It's election time. Now, this is it's juicy time now. But yeah, I mean, Beaches and Parks has been always at the forefront because Beaches and Park has it's a quiet little agency in the corner. And I don't know if you remember last election, it was after the last election, there was a lot of talk about a lot of money that was being allegedly this and that and so on at Beaches and Park. And so I think what the PLP should have done was brought the audit out earlier. You can't bring the audit out 20 days before election. And so, because you talk about all of the missteps that the previous administration did, the people who had 8 contracts for one park, and so on and so on. And so the audit should have been out a long time so that we could have uncovered what was done prior. But of course, that isn't done, so we can't really talk about that. But this Beaches and Park it's been a very interesting department or area, because I remember when Ingram had it was under the Ingram administration when they built out that on Sanders Beach, that little small bathroom for $100 million or something like that. I'm gonna exaggerating, right? But it was so much money for that little small bathroom that people wonder what's in that bathroom. So you could have built a mansion for what they built that little bathroom for. And so, I just think that we have to take the microscope and shine it even more on these areas to see what is going on. And the PLP should have brought the audit a long time, because we still need to know what happened with all of the money in the last election in Beaches and Parks.
Well, Shanique, it was a very interesting interview that you've had. Good evening, Bahamas. Good evening, Shanique. Thank you very much for having me here. Very interesting interview that you've had with Mr. Bonaby. And if I may, let me start from the end of it. the last question that you asked him about running from the media, which I think was a very pertinent question. And I think he answered that very well, because obviously with all that he shared with the questions that you fielded at him and his answers, it's not something that you could have properly answered in the kind of setting that you were in at your nomination, and I think it's rather kind of unfair to expect that. But yes, I'm satisfied, and I look forward. I don't like all of the hype in the media and social media, this one printing and this one saying that, and allegation tossing here and there. I like to hear the truth of what's happening. He spoke about the accounting firm that came and looked at the books, and then the audit that came to audit what has been accounted for. And so I await to see that and see what it really looks like, and see how it looks from there. Like Kasia said, I would have hoped that it would have come out earlier, but nonetheless, it's completed, and the Bahamian people will get to take a look at it as soon as possible. Sometimes what we have, and I don't like this when we come into these election season, politicians tend to kind of catch a ride on the emotions of people. A lot of time, people that are involved in the political sphere, they know the truth about certain things. They know exactly what is what, but they use the emotions of the people, and they throw things out there, not giving the whole truth, but just throwing vague things out there to capture people's hearts.
The bathroom on Sanders Beach, it cost $270,000, and in total they spent $2.2 million on Sanders Beach alone. And so we were complaining at that time of how you spend $270,000 on a bathroom, one bathroom with a toilet.
Yeah, but that bathroom is still, I've never been in it, but I understand there's a shower. It's still in good condition though. Michael, Michael.
That's the whole house.
But it's still, it looks good.
What about the kitchen?
Three bedroom, does it have kitchen? Does it have grill?
Can we grill there?
Listen,
gotta have a kitchen, gotta have
Michael, jump in.
$270,000 back then. You remember that, Michael?
You know, Shanique, the $2.some million, we all know that's a bunch of you know what. But you know, I listened to the chairman speak to, you know, and he's happy to hear, you know, that the one of the $100+ million was over a certain period of time. You know, I did find interesting that, you know, when they said, you know, this is a area that helps people get back on their feet, which, you know, we all want to see Bahamians do better. But at the same time, you know, when you're giving out contracts like these, like how, you know, these contracts are giving out, we need to make sure that these persons who are, you know, whether it be open these small companies, they know how to run a business. And that being making sure that what they're being paid for, they're providing the service, they're providing quality service, and actually doing the work on the scheduled time that is being done. I also noticed that he said they hired more inspectors. You know, it's one thing to hire inspectors, but to make sure your inspectors don't get on certain payrolls, not only your payroll, but other payrolls, whereas though they're not going out and inspecting work, making sure work is being done on time. You know, these are all things you need to put controls in place to make sure that what you are actually, you're hiring more persons, but you're not just, you know, exacerbating an issue that you already have. We're just spending money, but not getting the value for the money that's being spent. And I think that's the key for this particular area, because we go, you know, we ride around this town all the time, and we see garbage, certain corridors growing up. And, you know, one would expect that, you know, Beaches and Park, there's somebody that's holding a contract to maintain these.
What are these inspectors doing, huh?
You know, exactly. I'm not saying that all aren't doing anything, but I'm pretty sure one or two of them are saying, "Hey, yeah, don't worry about that, man. I got you. Just make sure, take care of me." You know, and that's, you know, it's unfortunate, but that's the kind of society that we live in. And you know, but you have to put controls in place to make sure that the people that you're hiring is actually doing the job. And when I say hiring, I'm talking about internal staff. I'm not talking about contractors that you would have brought on to, you know, do the side of the road, but your inspectors making sure they're actually doing the work that they're supposed to do. And I think this is where, you know, you might see wasted funds being spent in an area like this, because you have people who are being paid to do a job but not doing it efficiently and not doing it when they're supposed to.
Gentlemen, of course, we await that audit. Well, the presentation of the audit to see exactly how much was spent and how much per year. Maybe they exceeded the budget. And so we certainly will await that. But let's move on this evening. I tell you, we have just a little time, so we're going to jump around. The Progressive Liberal Party turned up the political heat in Central West New Providence last night, using its rally for progress to go on the attack against the Free National Movement and the leadership under Pintard. Now, of course, you all watched that. You all saw that rally that was held at the soccer stadium last evening. Your takeaways from that rally last evening?
I thought it was the 4th of July last night. The fireworks were going off. I don't know what it was. There were fireworks. I heard from, on the streets, I could have heard cars just blowing. I could have heard people making noise, say, let's go through Freetown, no traffic. I felt like I was at the rally, and I was nowhere close to East Bay Street, but you could have just hear the noise, the commotion. You could hear it was, you could see from the pictures, it looked as though it's well attended, but more so, they had the skies light up there everywhere. Everywhere they were fireworks last night.
There were fireworks.
I don't know if it was. Yes,
they're making a loud noise, and so what the PLP is doing, the PLP marketing is really making a loud noise. Quite frankly, though, Chinique, most Bahamians, 90% of all Bahamians already know how they're going to vote, and so rallies is basically just entertainment. You get a small fraction of Bahamians who still oscillating between what they're going to do. But a lot of people already know how they're going to vote. However, what the Progressive Liberal Party needs to do is perhaps stay on message, continue to show Bahamians how they're adding value. I think their message last night of trying to poke holes in Michael Pintard, I think is futile. They're doing that by themselves. Continue to show how you can add value to the lives of everybody. Case in point, there is a billboard every time I go home on JFK, right? And every billboard is complaining about a problem, but not one billboard is telling me how you're going to make my life better. That is the problem. I see that every day. This one guy, I know the problems. The problem with political parties and the problem with the PLP and the FNM is that they keep pointing fingers at each other. We all know what each other do. We know the situation. But you want me to put you in power. Now tell me how you can make my life better when I vote for you. And so the Progressive Liberal Party needs to begin to continually lay out their plans, lay out their platform, lay out their vision and say, listen, I ain't getting distracted with all the noise in the market. These are my plans. This is what I'm going to do. So if you vote for me, in 5 years, your life is going to be much better. Your bank account is going to be much healthier. The streets are going to be much cleaner. The air is going to be, and so that's what you have to stay on message. Don't get in this with Michael Pintard with the FNM. That is old politics. That ain't going to help you. Everybody already know how they vote. You got 10% of people who oscillating. Show them how you're going to make their lives better, how you can improve their lives and make the Bahamas better for all of us.
And I think that's a good part of that is true, but you also have a fraction of the voters who they want to be on the winning side wherever they vote, and a lot of them are feeling it out to see where the numbers are or where the momentum is gravitating towards.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are going to go to the polls on the day of election, and they're going to vote based on who they think is going to come out victorious because they want to be on the winning side, saying I voted, or when the parties are going on, to say that I voted, whether it be PLP or FNM. And I think, that side is where I think a lot of persons now in these last days, they're going to try, build the numbers, build momentum, the thing that, both, hey, we're the side to be on at the end of the day when you go on May 12th, when you go to the polls, you better put your axe here because you better be on this side. And I think that's where the fight is. At the same time, like Cassie said, people, there needs to be the message. What are you going to do? What is the solution to the problems like immigration, which is still, a boiling point for most Bahamians? How are we going to fix this? And I don't think anyone has addressed, what's going to be done. I think the Honorable Wayne Monroe talked about stiffer fines or penalties, but to me, the penalties that I saw them put in place is nothing close to what I think it needs to be.
I know, but I know you all say many years in jail for those, and you're right. This was something that was announced last evening as well, that this administration says it's cracking down on public officers found engaging in any fraudulent activity, whether it's, we've discussed it numerous times on this show, from birth certificates to affidavits to faking, whatever it is. in the lead up to obviously gaining that passport, that they will certainly be prosecuted. But listen, when we come back, we are going to hear the leader of the opposition talk about the integrity of this May 12th general election. We're going to talk about that when we come back right here on Beyond the Headlines after the break. Stay close.
This is the National Youth Guard program designed to train young people to help the Bahama Islands in times of disaster.
I decided to join to better serve my country as well as to better myself.
We train the help in search and rescue,
electrical, plumbing, and carpentry.
And things that they can actually expand on in their careers.
Young people who join the Youth Guard program discover a sense of identity, a sense of purpose, and a sense of patriotism.
This program isn't about only the individuals, it is about the country.
Hey, it's time to lock in your vote.
Your vote is your power.
With the new boundaries in place, you may need to transfer or confirm your voter registration.
And if you have never registered or didn't plan to vote,
don't get left out on one of the most important decisions of your future.
Make sure when election day comes, you're ready to say,
your say, your vote, your choice.
Foreign commercial banks have been closing across our islands. For thousands of Bahamians, our country's post office savings banks are a lifeline, providing safe and secure banking. But Michael Pindart says,
we will abolish the bank through the post office system.
That's a risk Bahamians can't afford. That's why the Prime Minister is making post office savings banks stronger to protect Bahamian families and small businesses who rely on them.
Once something becomes the common behavior, it is the common behavior. When you operate at that level, personal emotions simply cannot float to the top.
For the average normal person that goes to the store, things like that affect us.
They must be judicious in the execution of their duty.
Well, I think whatever the nurses want, give it to them.
Hedges, you know you do everything on your phone now. You see how old he is?
What are we walking back? That Bimini is no longer an island?
That's
okay,
not
because
what he was trying to
also,
say. Well, I don't even know what red basket is anymore either. What do y'all people say?
The race to 2026 is heating up, and the nation's voice is louder than ever. Here on Beyond the Headlines, we're checking the mood, the momentum, and the message of the people. I'm Shanique Miller. Each week, we're taking the temperature of the electorate to see what's really driving the nation. Who's connecting? Who's cooling off? What issues are heating up ahead of 2026? This is Temperature Check 2026, where journalism meets the nation's heartbeat. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. The Free National Movement is calling into question the integrity of the next general election, citing serious concerns about the voters' register and inconsistent application registration rules. Party leader Michael Pintard is even calling for the removal of public servants involved in the electoral process. We get the story from Devontae Hanna.
We've warned this government formally, publicly, and repeatedly that the integrity of our voter register was under threat.
Tonight, the Free National Movement is taking matters into their own hands, launching Save Our Sovereignty, a national campaign aimed at addressing alleged identity fraud and ensuring a safe and lawful election.
I can't think of another time in recent history since 1992 that we have had so many instances of varied acts of corruption as it relates to Bahamian identification cards or voter registration cards. And so I think under Davis, this is unprecedented in recent Bahamian.
Addressing a crowd of FNM supporters at a press conference today, Pintard raising serious concerns about reports of foreign nationals obtaining government-issued Bahamian documents. The latest, Pintard says, came this weekend.
A foreign national was found to be in possession of 2 Bahamian voters' cards. One issued for the constituency of Angliston and the other issued for the constituency of Southern Shores.
Those matters, he says, have been reported to the relevant authorities, including the Parliamentary Registration Department, but Pintard claims nothing came out of it. For this reason, he is calling for the removal of the Commissioner Harrison Thompson, and to further protect the electoral process, he added Golden Isles by-election returning officer Neil Campbell to that list.
Public confidence in the machinery of our democracy cannot be rebuilt while the officials presiding over it failed over and over, despite documented failures.
The now Pintard-led FNM has been flagging these issues from 2022 and even turning advanced poll day during the November by-election into a showdown between officials and supporters. The Prime Minister has previously stated that a reported case of fraudulent documents was an isolated issue, but the Passport Office later revealed it had investigated nearly 100 cases days later. To this end, the party says it engaged the United Nations and the United States Embassy in the Bahamas for election observation support. So far, Pintard says they've gotten it. This as the Organization of American States revealed it has reached an agreement to do the same for a 4th time.
We do not take this step lightly. We take it because the record of this administration on passports, on citizenship, on voters register, and on the silence of institutions sworn to protect the Bahamian people have made it necessary.
And there's been no updates on those investigations, but the Free National Movement says it will continue this level of advocacy along the campaign trail, and they will commit to doing the work if elected into office after the May 12 general elections. Devontae Hanna, Eyewitness News.
So is this election and the outcome of the election rigged in favor of the government through fraudulent acts by the Parliamentary Registrar Department? Well, former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram, you remember, spoke to this matter last November. Take a look.
On election day, you focus upon getting your voters out. Don't concern yourself about whether they can thief an election from you. You can't thief an election in the Bahamas. We got too many guardrails, we got too many rules and whatnot, too many experienced people for that to happen.
And while Ingram fired up
that statement last year, and the reason that's important, and I imagine is going to come up again, is because it truly is, it's a serious issue that is being expressed and put out there in the public. The leader of the opposition has on more than one occasion talked about the fact that he feels the election and its integrity is on the line. Then you have a former prime minister saying elections cannot be stolen in the Bahamas because of the measures and the systems in place. But it was, gentlemen, so why are we sort of continuing to I guess, question it?
Political parties who feel that they are running behind or will lose have to find ways to make the system look wrong. In other words, if you know that you're losing, you have to say, oh, they're cheating, and so on. And so that is a desperation call. A political leader should never reach to the point where I'm speaking those desperation call. One of the rules and one of the things that I've learned young as a political leader is never ever attack public servants. Ingram taught me that. And so, Michael, you needed to sit to Ingram and learn, you never attack public servants. They're only doing their job. And so if you're going to fire them on the back end, but don't attack them, because when you attack them, you attack their families, you attack everybody associated with them, and that's votes you can't get. So, but I mean, you know, so that, for me, that is a desperation call, and rightfully so. Even if we have 1,000, I guess, improprieties out there, we have how much? 197,000 registered voters?
No, just over 200,000.
Just over 200,000. And so basically that's minuscule in terms of affecting the outcome of an election. While I disagree, if any one person is wrongfully on our register, whoever put them there is treasonous and should be punished for that. But I mean, the amount that we're talking about is minuscule and it cannot affect the outcome of any election. And so, but you know, we have to clean up the system. We have to constantly work to make sure that the system works properly and is fine-tuned so that we don't have this system again. We need the government to do a better job of making sure that the registry is clean, and we need to make sure that we put people in place to make sure that all the checks and balances are in order.
Shanique, I really believe that we have had these issues before in the Bahamas with people forging voters card, passport, and all sort of other Bahamian document. I am in a way kind of happy of the new revelations that when these people now go to present these documents at any particular agencies, they are quickly found out and realize that they are fraudulent. It tells me something, that we have a system in place that works. And standing on the words of former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram, it proves what he is saying. We have systems in place. If you're knowledgeable, and that's why every political organization has their people. They have a certain amount outside the poll. They have a certain amount within the poll that they're looking for certain things. There are certain things that you look for in these documents when these people present themselves to vote. When there are certain signatures. We find the most recent person was forging cards, but they didn't have the adequate signature, and they were found out. And so I think we have some things in place. Like Kasia said, I don't think we should be careful of how we cast aspersion on our public servants, and we should thank and appreciate the work that is being done, that we are finding out these shortcomings. There are some people among us that are for the take. And they're selling our country out. Our everyday Bahamian that we give job, who quite naturally probably qualify for the job, but then they get in there, but their integrity cannot stand up. They don't have good character.
We know how people go. We know how we go.
Everybody wants a couple of $1,000 and they're in for the take. People go. That's how people. We must refuse to let one person or two or a couple of persons who decide to go this route cause us to cast aspersion on the entire
the whole
system.
as if the whole system. But we know how our people go. We know how people like little stuff dollars on the slide, and I can do this for you and give you a little driver's license and get you a little this and that. That's not an inherent indoctrination thing for the whole system. Absolutely. But there are some few bad apples, and those who are found guilty, let's punish them. So it can't happen again.
Absolutely, Michael.
You know, Shanique, I think this government has done a poor job in sounding the alarm in the immigration crisis and not really putting the focus on it and bringing it, a lot of things to light. And I think it's bad on their part that they didn't, whether it be sound the alarm to the different agencies, making them, hey, look out for this because we know this is on the rise. It goes back also to instilling stiffer penalties for those who do engage in this type of I call it foolishness, that we jail them, they don't slapping you with no little fine. But these are things that should have been addressed at the early stages and making the public aware that, hey, this is happening. If you see it out there, report it to us, let us know, or to reach out to the authorities. Now that we're coming down to the end of the getting into the campaign season, we see this now coming out. I do think the leader of the opposition attacking the civil servants, I think that is wrong. But also, and I think what's also no one has actually confirmed it, but did these voters cards, illegal voter cards, did these names make it to the register? And that's what has not been confirmed, whether it be the new ones or the old ones. Because
remember now, Michael, even the parliamentary department spoke about, I think it was, I don't know how many it was, that they were flagged. Once they were flagged on one level, they were flagged on every level. Exactly. And so they were flagged and being investigated, and that is why there were arrests. And so this is what's happening, and then I imagine fraudulent documents and people slipping and sliding through the system it's been happening perhaps since before independence.
And will continue.
Exactly. Absolutely.
But I mean, like I said, we have a relatively small country.
It's one thing to have a card.
We could fix it.
It's one thing to have a voter's card, but for that name to make it to the register, that's a different. That's two.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
one and the same.
Agreed.
Well, we want to know. I'll tell you. Remember now, a parliamentary registrar employee was arrested. Just maybe no more than 2 weeks ago. It'll be interesting to know if he was able to get people's name on the register. Mind you, the register has been closed. Also, let's keep that in mind. However, still, it'll be interesting to hear what his charges are, all of the charges, outside of fraud, the main charge. But we'll continue to follow this. This is what we talk about here on Beyond the Headlines. This is what we do. We've been exploring and sort of digging beneath the surface of all this, the allegations of fraud and fraudulent documents and that kind of thing. That will not stop. And neither will the political discussions.
I've been here for a long time, and this show become a little quickie, man.
Yes, the show.
We just reached. We
yes,
finished.
the time is shortened. Yes, very much so. The segments are shorter. Everything. Yes.
What you need to want those who are holding an illegal passport or voter's card, don't show up to the polls because Lincoln can be waiting on you. Don't show up to the polls.
And also, those who can't speak the Queen's English don't show up either.
I thank you all. I thank you all very much this evening. Of course, at the top of tonight's show, Mikhail Bonaby, Chairman of Beaches and Parks Authority, thank you for being here. And to, of course, you all, you gentlemen, Castria Stewart, Ellington Ferguson, Michael Turnquest, thank you as well. And a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in this evening. I certainly enjoyed having you along and look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. It's temperature check, y'all. We can still try get it in. Of course, I look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.